Hello and welcome back to another Walking Dead video, and today I'll be talking about Season 2 of Daryl Dixon, The Book of Carol, and looking back at the whole season and talking about how it is clearly not as good as Season 1. And is it all because of Carol? Because she was the big factor in Season 2. Did she ruin the show? And I do think there are some good cases to say the introduction of Carol did not help this show. So, looking at this season, it is very clear that Carol steals the show, and not in a good way. This season spends half of its episodes with Carol in different countries, doing other things, and the main story with Daryl is kind of sidelined until episode 4, really. And it really does suck, because all the interesting characters and all the interesting storylines have been pushed aside so that Carol could have her journey across the world and she can do her own things. Like she can have a whole stop in Greenland, have a whole episode there. And it reminds me of the Morgan takeover of Fear. Daryl Dixon did the same. And both Fear and Daryl Dixon now have the same story in a way. You have the first season Daryl Dixon's case, which are absolutely phenomenal. A Walking Dead character gets jumped into the show, gets shoehorned in, and it just falls apart. And also, major characters get killed off to make space for a new protagonist. That happens in this show. It's so weird it's now happened twice with the Walking Dead universe, where they're like, you know what, add a Walking Dead character, and it just throws a spanner in the works and ruins the show. I think Carol shouldn't have been in the show personally. It's cool to see Melissa McBride back, and it's great. However, because she wasn't in season 1, we got some very unique characters, and Daryl doing these really interesting things. And Daryl finally getting a relationship. We had some amazing spin-off characters. We haven't had great characters in a spin-off in years. And the only other show I'd say, oh yeah, they had characters that are original to that show that were great was Fear. Every other spin-off since Fear has had the characters feel like they're just there for the Walking Dead characters. They don't do much. Look at Dead City. I can't name a single spin-off character in that show. Maybe Pearly, that's it. But he's okay, not great. This show you had Codron, you had Isabel, you had Sylvie, which was underused even in season 1, but she was cool. And then you get season 2, where you have Codron do nothing until episode 5. Isabel and Sylvie both get killed off so that Daryl and Carol can become a thing again, and the new characters aren't just third wheels. It is very clear that characters were sidelined so that Carol could be in this show. It might have been a plan ever since season 1 to add Carol to the show. However, because they delayed Carol's entry into the show, they ended up inadvertently making these amazing characters, and now you're suddenly taking them away a season later. They should have either not introduced Carol at all, or introduced her early in season 1. She shouldn't have been held off for the second season, because it ruined the Daryl Dixon original characters. And because now you have Carol, there just isn't enough time for these characters. If they had maybe more episodes, we could get a more interesting and fleshed out storyline, and Carol wouldn't have ruined the show. However, the showrunner is insistent on 6 episodes a season, even though Dead City is allowed to move up to 8 because the story needs it. He's insisted, and it makes it seem like AMC don't want to have Daryl Dixon more than 6 episodes, even though AMC clearly allowing Dead City that privilege. So, what's going on there behind the scenes? Something's a bit fishy going on. Also, the introduction of Carol does feel like it undoes all of Daryl's character progression from season 1. At the end of season 1, he's torn because he's found a new home, he's found a new family. Carol comes in the show. His new home is destroyed, his new family is destroyed, and what's left of his new family is sent off to America to never see them again. So Daryl is now back to square one, like he was at the start of the show and at the end of The Walking Dead. It really annoyed me. It made season 1 feel pointless on that emotional journey Daryl went through. However, I do have to say, this is still a good season. I might be dunking on the whole Carol in the show and not liking that, but it is still fun. It's like Fear. Fear season 4, I would argue the first 8 episodes, even though it ruins Fear, it's still enjoyable TV. This is the same case. It just has that annoying feeling that if Carol wasn't in the show, imagine how much more time will be spent with Madame Genet, or Isabel, or Codron, or even how much more time they could spend on fleshing out the variant walkers and maybe giving us a little tease at the origin of the walker virus. This could have been the season, this could have been the show. However, because Carol was injected into the second season, the focus was taken away from Daryl, was taken away from France, and put on her for way too long. If there was no Carol, they could really focus on what mattered, and that was the Daryl and France storyline. You could have way more scenes and way much more development in Daryl and Isabel's relationship, instead of having them kiss in episode 2 and her die at the start of episode 4 and Daryl and Carol then reunite and just leave like nothing ever happened. It was like they reunited and back to status quo. That's how it felt. It's really annoying because there's such a good story. They could have done so much more. There could have been so much more. And Carol was still entertaining, but just knowing we could have had a better season is saddening. Because what we got is still good, but it was so badly paced. You had the Daryl storyline being pushed to the back, being forgot about at times, and then by the time it's halfway through the season, they finally start the Daryl storyline, and then bam, they're just rushing through it. There are so many issues in this season which all link back to one thing, and that is the introduction of Carol, that extra cog, moving, ended up making this whole season maybe fall apart in areas, but it's still being held together pretty well. It's just, it is nowhere near as good as season 1, because there is just one too many things going on, and that one too many things, I feel, is Carol Peltier. But this is just my thoughts and feelings on Daryl Dixon's season 2, so please tell me down below. Do you agree with me that Carol might have negatively impacted this show, and even go as far as say maybe it ruined it? Or did you like Carol being added to the show? Did you like what they did with the show in season 2? And which season do you prefer, season 1 or season 2? I'll let you know all your thoughts down below. And this is it for me today, so goodbye, peace out, and thank you for watching.